Hello and welcome to the University Rant. I'm Sly and Spook.
And I am Sylvester.
And on today's episode we look back on 105 undefeated years in this competition. In that time we have had not one scandal and we haven't lost a grand final. Isn't that right, Sly?
What a football club we are.
Absolutely fantastic. I can follow this club forever.
And I will follow on forever, happily.
Whoa, pip pip, cheerio, hooray, huzzah!
Spook!
Huzzah! Oh, what a dream I was having. Where are we?
Where we always are.
Ah!
Welcome to Collingwood Rant. I'm Sly.
And I'm Spook of the Sarsaparilla clan.
Spook.
Yes.
What do the Titanic, the Hindenburg, the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy, and Collingwood all have in common?
I can't use that sort of language on this show.
Yes, that's right. They're all man-made disasters. Lost to Essendon on Friday night. I'll start off with this one. For about the first, 8 or 9 minutes, we absolutely dominated them.
So stop us again if you've heard this one.
Yes. And then it rained quite heavily.
Yeah, and how did that work for us?
And then Essendon got on top and pretty much didn't look back and dominated us for the 2 and a bit quarters. And by the time we decided to try and apply a little bit of intensity and pressure and system...
It was Sunday?
It was Sunday and a little bit too late to come back. I gotta say, I love this football team because I think their greatest weapon is their versatility. I mean, when Plan A stops working, it's like they all sit back and go, what should we do? And someone says, how about Plan A? Yes! So they try that.
It's never failed us before.
For about 7 minutes, and when that stops, when it's proven to not work, they call another meeting and say, I've got another idea.
Has anyone thought about Plan A?
Yeah. And out they go, and then the siren goes, and Buckley calls them in, and Buckley says, you've got to start using Plan A.
You didn't execute Plan A.
Why the fuck, when it's raining and it was pouring the whole day, so it had stopped for the start of the game and the drainage.
That's probably when Mason walked out.
Yeah, and that's when the MCG has good drainage and all that. But when it starts pouring again, why is your game plan an overuse of handball? It's like 400 handballs, and the thing is, it's like, I understand that if you're actually advancing the ball, but it's like bang, 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 and everyone's sort of looking at, what do we do? And no one's got the guts to like take the ball and just say, fuck it, I'm going to take it, I'm going to go for a run. There was that little bit of play, I think, before half time where they handballed it about 98 times in the wing, and then I think it was the Goey finally got him to say, I'm kicking that, and he kicked it on the full. It's like, what the fuck is with this club? Seriously.
I want to know why a small forward managed to run the entire length of the ground 38 times a second and managed to intimidate every single one of our players 74 times.
I can tell you why. It's because we're not as tough as we think. What's that side that bit us in the grand final? Recently, West Coast, they did it too. They made us hear footsteps.
Oh, this really just rolled over your back and say, here's my soft underbelly. Please, sir, may I have another?
Please plunge a dagger into it. Alright, so the typical things, Andrew Phillips, I mean, what's he been around for 113 years, and sorry, he beat Grundy in the ruck. Grundy might have got the statistical taps again. Grundy was good around the ground, but again, it's that sort of thing. Plan A is what we know. Trelaw got 30 possessions.
Name one.
And the problem with Trelaw is when he gets trapped on the inside, it's always like a little handball out or that little snap around the body, and they're not efficient possessions. Jake Stringer decided to have his best game ever for Essendon and then get injured with 2 minutes left, typically.
What a beauty. I'm out for the rest of the year now, thanks.
Yep. Dylan Shield had a really good game.
Who's that again?
GWS midfield. The GWS midfielders, they love Collingwood.
I wish Ayers did.
So, Essendon raced out to a lead. We had no fucking system whatsoever. No fucking... I just want to keep swearing about these teams. Typically, there's not a lot of changes, but then Buckley does ring one change. He says, hey, this year I've had 1.5 midfielders. One is currently out for 4 weeks because of stupidity. Not like that's ever happened at Collingwood. And the other one's my captain of 300 games who's been pretty much elite for the bulk of his career. I'll take him out of the midfield, put him forward, and then put in the midfield people like Elliott and I can't remember who the others were, the Goey, to win clearances who have done nothing the whole year. Why is Pendles the one you take out of that midfield?
Because that's part of Plan A.
It's just
subsection A.
Mason Cox, another shocker. Tom Phillips, again, quiet. It's really, again, you got to look at the sides. There's only a handful of them who are decent. Maynard had a pretty good game yet again. Josh Dacos continues to impress. And
there's daylight.
Yeah, and with Dacos, given his form in 3 of the 4 games, or 4 of the 5 if you count the Bulldogs on too from so long ago, I would just be saying, you know what, we're going to play him the whole year unless he totally plunges off a cliff. Guys like Callum Brown, Tyler Brown, they've already hit a wall for me. Tyler Brown's just too thin at the moment. It looks like it's a good prospect for the future. Varco looked totally out of it, but I'll give him a bit of a pass because it's his first game in about 19 years. And he's coming off a shoulder reconstruction. Crisp was terrible.
That was a shocker.
I don't want to single-handedly blame players for our loss, but Crisp is single-handedly responsible for it. I've always believed in football. I think it was Varco was coming out of the back line, did a terrible low kick to Crisp. It wasn't a good kick, but it actually bowled Crisp over, went through his legs, he fell over, and then had everyone forward of the ball, and they just picked it up, and that's how they scored their first goal. And I've always believed when you make a mistake of that ineptitude, the team just starts dropping their heads and going, oh fuck, and the other side just goes, oh, actually, we're in this. And that was the point that Essendon actually heightened their intensity and started dominating us. Then, typically we had a really ferocious effort. And when you listen to Buckley and press conference...
The tease, I think you should just call it the tease.
Yeah, the tease.
The Stocko tease.
When you listen to Buckley and press conference, it's all about, we didn't work. And it's like, you know what? They do nothing but work. They try hard, they're intense. There's no system.
Yeah. Essendon just absolutely monstered us from that, from their first goal onwards, really.
Yeah, they did.
And just they were unrelentless with their pressure. And we wilted, as we often do.
And all the complaints that we've made the last few weeks with our losses, which, people say, you overreact because, you lost narrowly, but you're now shit-canning the whole side. It's like, well, you're starting to see it now. You're starting to see that all the parts, when they're not working together, are exposed as relatively vulnerable, not quite right parts. Chris Mayne, sorry mate, but you are looking like it's past you.
Yep.
Sorry, and that's a number of...
He hasn't slowed down, he's just stopped.
Yeah. Roughhead tried. Darcy Moore, I'll do my call again, put him in the fucking forward line. You have him at full back. You have him at full back to get, 10, 12, 15 possessions a game. And that's how you're using this elite talent. Probably one of the best in terms of potential players to come through his club in the last 15 years, or even longer, and you'll turn him into a full-back. It's actually a crime. And now I'm not going to be diplomatic with my criticism of that, him being back there. It's a crime. I don't give a fuck now that Howe's injured and that leaves the defence vulnerable. Make some moves, fashion your new defence. Your forward line should be built around Moore, who's an elite talent. As everyone knows, I've defended Cox for his entire career at Collingwood, and I still feel he's unfairly maligned at times, but he is really struggling, and that forward line is us struggling around him. Elliott looks terrible at the moment. Phillips been terrible. I probably named Hoskin Elliott. Were you there? Were you out there for 2 quarters?
What week are we talking?
I
guess the thing is with moving more, and it's an obvious sort of solution, but there is a big giant red flag that you're always waving in the back, that if you take him out of defence, how much of a sieve are we going to quickly become at the moment with that Howe as well?
Well, look, the one thing I'll say about defence and the forward line too in their defence is part of the problem comes from the midfield has they're really little pressure outside of Adams and Wills. They had a really bad game too, but there's not a lot of defensive pressure in the midfield. So the ball's just moving forward too quickly, and then when we're getting the ball, we're just bombing it like fuckwits. And that's really, I always said, so if you have really bad delivery into the forward line, it doesn't matter who you have down there, they're going to struggle. But the whole thing isn't working as it is. So, you know what, that might leave the defence a sieve, but you know what, you got a sieve at one end and the other end just fucking blocked. Yeah. So I would rather just say, hey, we'll go to either Will Kelly, who's probably still too thin, or we'll go to Dunn. And we'll say to Schoenberg, you're going to play the Howe role. Schoenberg was probably one little bit of a bright spot. Didn't have a brilliant game, but he did a few nice things. and he's still got the potential. I don't think he'll probably ever be the player he might have been with the 28 injuries he's had since we drafted him, but he still shows, he can play the game. Once he gets confidence in his body and confidence in his abilities, hopefully he'll really jump up in standard.
Yeah, he did show a couple of times just a lack of pace, whether that's just the wet track or whatnot. But he does get into position and does read the ball coming in, probably more often than his treacle slow sprints.
The one thing I'll say too, in terms of the way the side operates, people might say we're overly critical. If you go,
hey, you guys are overly critical.
If you look at the VFL side, the VFL scratch side or whatever they're called.
Yeah, how's Supreme with that this week?
Oh, I didn't look. But Will Kelly is playing at centre-half forward, so he was a defender, you're playing him at centre-half forward. Flynn Appleby is a defender, he's playing at half forward. Jack Magden's a defender, you're playing him as a midfielder. Now, to me, that suggests you realise there's massive issues here and you're trying to find the solution. And even if you go back to last year, Goldsack played as a defensive forward, so they've thrown players around because I think they realise the deficiencies within the list and they're trying to find solutions that they can't just sort of go straight to a player and say, this is an option. I mean, there is an option in terms of, you're playing Will Kelly up forward, you have this guy again, Darcy Moore, you could probably try, but
they won't.
I'm always a big believer that unless you have a surplus of talent, and I'll go back to, say, our 2010 side who had Thomas, Pendlebury, Swan, Ball, Willingham, Sidebottom Beams in the midfield, and then you could say, alright, you know what, he sure can stay at half back because that midfield's got enough talent in there. Unless you've got a surplus of talent, players should play in their best position. There's too many players in that side who are not in their best position. Tom Phillips should be a wingman. Why he's playing now as a forward, I don't know. Darcy Moore said that for the third time. You playing Varco off half back, I believe. Yeah, it's hard to tell on television where people are lining up. Elliott's in the middle. The Goey is in the middle. Right now, he's only proven as a forward, and you're really struggling up forward, so I'd probably throw him there, up forward. You're playing players all over the place and they're struggling, and you can't just entirely blame the players because it's not their thing. And I understand with some players like the Goey, you do want to evolve him into a midfielder eventually. You don't have the luxury at the moment.
No, and I wonder with that, because what did he lose, 5 kilos over pre-season? That was obviously a move to increase his endurance, I guess, because obviously they didn't see him as a big, massive run player. But geez, losing that extra weight that he used to throw around is just it's having an impact on his bulking.
Given the stuff that's also happened with him off field.
Oh, what happened? Did something happen?
Yeah, he dyed his hair. I do wonder if that's been preoccupying his mind, because a few people have said that about his weight. I think, okay, that's fair enough, but I'm thinking he's not even getting goals, and it's got nothing to do with weight. His kicking's just gone to shit, and he's really playing like he's distracted or his mind's not entirely there. So I do wonder if there's more to that. One thing while we're on the Goey, I'll wait until you stop drinking so you don't splutter.
This could be a while.
How good
have you got him?
How good is the Goey goal review?
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I mean, there's people arguing that apparently they've changed the rules about 5 years ago or something, and that this is the perfect example of that, but Christ almighty. The thing is, the goal umpire has said, I thought it was a goal, but I was in the way. Again, this is like the other one that we had that was adjudicated recently, where the goal umpire, usually if there's a shadow of a doubt, you go to the goal umpire's original call, unless of course it's us. That ball, I mean, you couldn't tell one way or another where it's going because you had a really great person standing in the way, but the fucking reviewer was adamant that it was going to hit the post.
Well, interestingly,
adamant.
You might not have watched the post-game wrap. I think
there's a fair chance, no.
Wayne Carey, I think it was, he said he believed it was a goal. He goes, you look at the trajectory of the ball, it looks like it's going to go past the post. Hamish McLaughlin said he was sure it was going to hit the post. So, obviously, there's no way to tell. You'll never be able to tell unless you bring in, what they have in the cricket, where they work out the trajectory and all that, which they're not going to do. But as you said, if you can't make a determination, then you've got to go to the original call. The original call was a goal, but they've gone, as you said, with total authority to say, hey, that was going to hit the post. No doubt about it. And I'm like, they showed it a number of times, and I think, I'm not sure. And I might have been Brian Taylor, I can't remember which commentator, but they were actually saying, there's no way you can make a definite call. But he not only made a definite call, he did it in about 1.2 seconds.
He's like Uncle Rico. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt at all.
I don't want to blame that for losing, because Essendon just outplayed us.
Sure.
But no, seriously, I don't blame that for losing. But that came at a time where we actually got some run on, but we weren't, unlike Collingwood, capitalising on opportunities. And you think if they had had Cole, that might have changed the dynamics of the game a little bit. So
well, it certainly did.
Well, did the wrong way. Any final thoughts on this shit game? Because we've really said it all for a while.
No, I just want to have a bit of a shout out to the Channel 9 Footy Show for stealing his material with Grundy.
Oh, who doesn't?
I think they've been watching this show, and I'm glad someone actually has been.
Collingwood developer plan B. I am going to make a special mention of Daisy Pearce.
How many positions did you get?
Well, she was doing the boundary riding, and then she was on the panel. You watch any sport to listen to the experts because they have insight. Channel 7 has assembled a panel which predominantly would rather be characters and tell funny stories.
You guys just noticed this?
No, but this is what's going on. And then listening to all the people, like Hamish McLaughlin was like, he obviously looks good, he's got a good voice and all that sort of shit. Why he's a frontman still, he doesn't seem to have any great talent as a frontman. BT's just over the top. I do like Wayne Carey at times, but listening to all of them speak, and Daisy Pearce was talking about how Collingwood played in the wet and saying it's in their DNA to handle and it takes a little while, you don't always adjust. Listen to all, it's like Daisy Pearce is the only one I thought, fuck, she's actually providing really good analysis. The others are morons. Like I said, I like Carey at times because he's just honest, but you know what? You give people positions on ability rather than whatever they're being given positions at Channel 7 because fuck, the commentary is excruciating on Channel 7.
I must admit, I don't take it that offensively because I just actually tune it out. It's rare that I actually absorb anything that they say.
Well, once upon a time I worked as an editor, so I was always looking for errors, and then just like I'm sort of sitting there and just going, what the fuck have you said? Like fucking Brayshaw, the Carlton Essendon match of previous week, when Townsend missed at the end and he scored a point, and then Carlton kicked out, and the clock was counting down to just about 3 seconds left, and the clock was counting down, and James Brayshaw said, "Listen to this!" Like he's waiting for the crowd to cheer, and probably not realising the crowd's only full of cardboard cutouts.
They're a bit like that DJ 2000 that was in that episode of The Simpsons. Just had all those phrases and sayings just sort of recorded away and you push buttons. Maybe that's how the commentary team works. They actually stopped talking 6 years ago. They just pre-recorded gibberish and they hit multicoloured buttons like a chicken eating pellets.
I don't want to blame anyone, but I'll blame Dennis Cometti, who decided...
Dennis Cometti? Comedy?
No, we didn't do that. He decided to go from half-okay commentator to a caricature of himself who's always throwing in his catchphrases and shit like that. And all of them decided, let's be characters. If you ever been channel flicking and you fall on the sport, even if you don't watch it, if they got people who are speaking about it who are actually intelligent, insightful, provide good analysis...
Well, that rules us out.
Yeah, totally. But you can just sit down and listen to them and you go, oh yeah, no, that's where long bowls, I didn't realise there's that much to this. Channel 7 just got all these people talking and just sort of 70% of them are just like, fuck. So anyway, I wanted to do a special shout out to Daisy Pearce, who I thought was really good.
Oh, good. Good on your days. She'd be watching, wouldn't she?
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, we'll be right back with something.
Not this shit though.
Talking about the 2020 season. We're back with... I don't know. I made that to say Sidebottom...
Should we move out of the way so people can read it?
Yeah.
Especially our podcasters.
Yeah. The Sidebottom Crisis, and then something new came up. And then I was trying to think about all the crises that have happened in the last... let's say under Buckley's...
Is there 7 pages of this?
That's what I needed.
Should we just scroll?
It was seriously... The things that I was looking at was Sidebottom, Stevenson, Goey's had several. Braden Sire had the fill-in incident.
At least that one was funny.
Yeah. Lachlan Keefe, Josh Thomas, Sam Murray.
Keefe on his own was just funny.
All had drug strikes.
Allegedly. Can you still say allegedly? Is it factual now? I don't know.
They all got banned from playing, so obviously it was proven.
I don't know, but I don't know how you represent this stuff anymore.
I don't know either.
I think you just got to sit in the fence and hope a paling doesn't perforate your bowel.
Eddie Maguire's made several gaffes.
That's just in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. It's like, what the fuck's happened with his club? Seriously.
Where do you start?
This seriously reminds me of, and I don't want to compare administrations, but I will, because I like comparing things because you learn from history. If you go to the new Magpies, it took over in '83, and they didn't say anything stupid.
Is that Ranald?
Yeah, Ranald McDonald. They were a very high-profile administration. Their strategy to bring Collingwood up into the modern era sort of failed. They just bought all these players. Anyway,
at least they had sense of humour.
Yeah, and the administration pretty much imploded in '86. McDonald and a couple of others, I think, resigned. Alistair McAllister, who was treasurer, he took over as president. And for 4 years, he didn't even know he existed. He was just there quietly, anonymously working in the background. And Collingwood assembled this team on the 90 flag. Then, according to McAllister, they were the greatest show on earth. And then it got to the point, like, he was always saying something. They were just doling up for quotes. And he was saying outrageous things, which I won't go into.
Like you invented the question mark?
Pretty much. And then it got to the point, like, I believe the admin gagged him and just said, shut the fuck up. You know, I don't know if they said that specifically, but I recall that was going around at the time that he'd been told shut up. But it really reminds me of that era where the club was unravelling. No one was realising it. And the admin was dial a quote for the press because they were, I don't know if they were enjoying the profile or was just they'd fallen into the trap. And that's what we feel like now. It just feels like it's all unravelling. And people are now sort of getting to the point where they're sick of it. I know a number of people have turned on Ian Maguire in terms of his profile. While we're indulgent to say, okay, there's no conflict of interest or he can handle it, he's now just batting for both sides in both roles. And it just feels so destabilising for the club. And it feels like the club's going to hit the fucking rock bottom at some point. And the only time people will realise it is when it actually crashes.
Mm. No, I must say, it is wearing me down. I've not sort of hidden the fact that I think it's the time that we invested in a new president. We can probably build one out of spare parts. Now, I think the issue is you linger somewhere too long, you become stale. We may have covered this several thousand times before. And I don't know whether that's just something that's permeating around the club or whether there's that sort of sense that we're always going to be protected, so it doesn't really matter what stupidity we do.
Let me put this to you too. To you also. To you also, to you though. I don't know what the fuck to say. Let me put you... English is gone. Let me put this to you. In 2010, I believe we won the flag. And I'd say that would be the height of Maguire's presidency.
Was it?
Or we won the flag. And it felt like the club was on top of the world. And you had
down on creation?
Yeah, and they had a young list and looked like it could dominate the competition for 5 years. 2011 was this destabilising year because you had the succession plan, you had Mick Mulhern who didn't want to go, who was reneging on that contract, but I don't blame you, you just want your flag, so why wouldn't you say, let me fucking still coach? And then he is forced to go. And Buckley takes over, and then there's, when I look back on it, they say they wanted to impress cultural change apart in the club. You have these guys like Thomas and Heater and Wallingham and Dawes and Lumumba all have left for various reasons. You had guys like Didak and Jolly who apparently didn't leave on good terms. So it feels like there's been a real weird shift. It's brought the club from top four to bottom four pretty quickly. As I've gone over 900 times, the drafting, the recruiting was total shit. So that's not on Buckley. That's just poor or bad luck. You know, you had Schoenberg and Fremont. Point I'm making is they had something. They're at the top of the world. They disassembled it, and it's never felt like they've rebuilt anything as meaningful. And I know they made a grand final in 2018, but it just felt like that was, we were firing during a time when the standard of competition had come down a little bit because the new clubs had diluted the talent pool, so you've gone from here to there. And it felt like, to me, Collingwood was more a 4th, 5th, 6th team.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
you know, in 2006, 2007, 2008, that sort of team under Malthouse. And it just feels like they haven't actually built this team that can launch an assault on grand finals for years to come. I know they're always heavily in premiership favouritism. I don't actually understand why, because it doesn't take a lot to unravel that side. More recent trading hasn't worked with beams and all that sort of shit, so they've fucked up even more in that regard. And just to look at the club thing, it's very easy for that club to come undone because the list they've built has this weird age profile, and the guys they got playing, which I've talked about, there are a lot of guys pinch hitting in positions they shouldn't be, like Phillips and Thomas as half forwards and shit like that. And it feels like the club is, I don't know what the right word is, diluted in terms of where they stand for the future.
I don't think they're deluded.
You don't? You think?
No, completely and objectively insane.
I don't know. I mean, you look at the Sidebottom thing.
Do I have to?
That's a really... I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit more of it than they're telling us for that to happen.
It's that thing that I've always said. It's only Collingwood that can kill Collingwood. And we were riding high, 2 weeks ago? You know, we'd beaten St Kilda. We were talked up as flag favourites. I mean, but it was a convincing win. It's like everything then had to align. It's like, you're just getting too much enjoyment out of this. I've got to bring some shit up.
Well, but that's the problem, is why do they keep having these things that... I know that these happen, like Lockie Hunton happened at the Dogs. I don't know what the last crisis at the... I mean, the Dogs have probably had a few things with Jake Stringer leaving. And
no one cares about them.
But there's... I mean, every club's going to have issues, because you're managing 40 to 50 young men, and shit's going to happen. That's just the reality. But at Collingwood it seems to happen quite a bit. And I'm just curious why we seem to we keep falling afoul of it.
No, it's every year. It just gets tiring. You know, as I said to you earlier, you look back at 2010, like, granted you won a flag. I reckon one of the biggest reasons why we won that flag, apart from being pretty good, was that nothing happened that year. There was no distractions. Nothing was set out of step. It was just like the eyes on the prize, the focus is there, we can deliver this, and they did. And then straight back to normal. Yeah, I think, like everyone talked about this earlier. I think, what did we have? About 3 or 4 days of enjoying being premiers before the Beams incident came to light. And you go, oh fuck, can I just be happy? Do I have to have something else now just sort of drag me back? And it's just like, it's always there. Every year there's always something that happens that either derails the season or shifts the focus away what it is. And it must have an impact on the playing list as well. I think clearly the Sidebottom one would have. Yeah, the fact that Lumumba, I was going to say Labumba, but that's probably wrong. He starts speaking now when the crest is high. That must have an impact on the list too.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it happened years ago and half of them were, well, probably the bulk of them were around there, you start wearing that though. And then, what was the latest thing that happened?
The Goey?
Yeah, the Goey thing. I mean, that's slapped out of nowhere yet again. And, it's like that scene in, or that line in A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise just sits there and says, and the hits just keep on coming. It just never ends.
Well, here's one for Channel 9, and there's rumours that there were heated words spoken between Maguire and the playing list over what happened. So, how much has that caused?
Well, it's not like Collingwood has a history of officials and people in power chastising them and breaking things. I think there's. But
the interesting one in this story is, I'm not going to break it too much for Channel 9. Is, okay, admin chastise players, but...
that scratching sound you can hear is Damien Barrett.
Yeah, but somebody in that playing group might have spoken back.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Someone of a higher capacity?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you look at that list and you think, who would actually speak back, but and do so with impunity. And that's just...
I think at the moment there's going to be some tensions running. I mean... these guys are, having to essentially pack up their lives and what's happened now that they've moved into the hubs. You'd have that weighing over your head, especially young people with families or young kids or anything like that. It's a big deal to be uprooted and sent away. And knowing that was coming too, I think you've almost sort of brewing the perfect storm for a conflict to be happening at Collingwood, because if you're told off for doing something, whereas you're all busting a hump trying to do the right thing, hopefully, then there's going to be a clash when that time comes to be chastised.
I mean, the one thing I believe is, because of the situation with COVID and the season as it's being played, and Matthew Lloyd said this too, I don't know if he was watching me too, this is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of players under immense pressure, so there's going to be ones that just blow, and there'll be outbursts like this. But the thing with at Collingwood, the big issue here is, and it's been reported in the media, is all the proclamations Eddie was making about the next player's got to get fined this and this has got to happen and this sort of stuff, and demanding transparency about the Jack Stevens situation, all this sort of stuff, and it blows up in his face, and he's now put in a position where he's got to live by his words, but then, there were pretty harsh words, and he has to then backtrack to an extent and rationalise his stance and how that stance fits into his previous beliefs, and you just get this big clusterfuck of everyone has now in the media has now just sort of turned on Eddie Maguire and just said, "You're fucking massively in the wrong." And the playing group's got to sit there and just think, could this guy just shut up so we can just go out and play football and stand on our own merits? And the other guy I got a feel for is Nathan Buckley as a coach, just sort of saying, could I have a year where maybe something doesn't fucking happen?
Which club's he going to?
But under him, so he's had a divided playing list when he was given the club. He's had all these injuries. He's had the drug issues with Josh Thomas and Lachlan Keith. He's had Sam Murray. There were reports a while ago that the list management, Buckley didn't have very much input in it. So he was given players and not according to what he wanted to do and stuff like that. And in the last 2 years, the deal with Stevenson and Phil In and Sidebottom and
still funny that one.
And the Goey and Eddie Maguire, and it's not even really 2 years. It's within 12 months he's had to deal with all that shit, and the Lumumba stuff too. And he has to go out in front of the press and answer their questions in a way that he's not going to implicate himself or the club or say anything that's going to come back to bite him. Whereas I'm sure that he's probably just getting to this point where he's just feeling, just leave me the fuck alone, I'm just a coach, just go bother someone. I don't know why these people are doing this to me. And you look at someone like Buckley was the consummate professional. I don't think he ever had any off-field indiscretions, always really well prepared. So this sort of behaviour to him must be really alien, where he must just be looking and going, hey, you're a 25-year-old playing a game for hundreds of thousands of dollars, just fucking enjoy it because it can go really quickly. Give yourself the best chance. But he just seems to have this minefield ever since he's taken over Collingwood, which has existed, and where things are going off every now and again.
The real danger too also is with a shortened season is you just don't have time to make up the slack if you derail for even a month.
No.
If we lose the next 4 games because their heads are in a different space, it's very difficult, I think, to come back from there.
Well, you look at you go back to the St Kilda game that you spoke about. You look at the list and you think, okay, the list is in a pretty good spot. You've got Treloar coming back. You've got guys like Murphy and Charenberg in the reserves getting some game time so we can bring them up. Will Kelly is looking like an interesting prospect. You got, Blanco and Rantel and Quaynor to come in. You go, okay, we're pretty well placed. You fast forward 2 weeks. You've now lost half of the year. You've lost Sidebottom for 4 weeks. The Goey won't play this week, and we don't know how that's going to work at all. And even if he does play, we don't know where his head's going to be.
You're going to be guaranteed to at some point in the next couple of days they'll close the borders to everywhere and he'll be stuck in Victoria for the rest of the season.
Definitely. And you have all this shit happening. And it's seriously, I said this last year, I think, whenever I get a text from anyone of Collingwood's friends, particularly when it's a screenshot or something, I just dread opening it. And in the past, there will be an injury. There'll just be... I remember a few years ago when Schoenberg did his leg in at training, someone sent me a screenshot, I sent to you, and you just, fuck hell, And that's what it's like now. Someone sends me a screenshot. I can't remember who sent me the Goey one to begin with, but it was just like,
it was me.
It's just like,
I think.
But I mean, I'm getting them from all over the place too. It's like, fucking hell, And it's like, when that screenshot came out, I thought, it'll be something on Sidebottom. It's like, oh no, hang on, this is something totally new. It's like Sidebottom, the guy must have been sitting, at a restaurant. I can't. But they must have been having a beer or two the other night, and Sidebottom goes, I fucked up. And the guy must have said, you wait. Any final thoughts on this crisis of Collingwood?
No, and you can't even sit here and really say, let's just see how the next couple of weeks pans out. There's like a mate of mine sent a text today saying, I wonder who's going to get arrested today. And, it said in jest, but you look at it and when you read it going, I fucking actually do. I sometimes wonder what it is. It's almost like now that it's started, let's just open the floodgates and have 48 other indiscretions pop up. Because why not? It's what we do well.
In 2017, my Collingwood cousin who you've met was run over by a van and broke a lot of bones and was in, pretty bad shape. And they put him in a coma for 8 days until his body did some recovering before they woke him. And that's like, if I could appeal to medical science, I know you're really busy with COVID, but if you could just put me in a medical coma for about 14 days and then I can wake up in 14 days and, I'll get reports like, this player's in jail, this player's robbed a bank, this club's disbanded, coach has been, shanghaied, and it would just be like, how long have I been asleep? And you'll text me and go, 3 days.
14 minutes.
Anyway, we'll be back with the match preview.
Oh, I can guarantee this will be quick.
Welcome to the match preview. It is Collingwood versus Hawthorn. Who do you think might come in? I mean, the Goey is going to miss in all likelihood.
Well, he's definitely been ruled out by the club.
Will Kelly is playing well in the scratch match reserves. I don't know how much, again, the reserves. And yet the reserves I've got to imagine is going to be as physical as the seniors are. I mean, the standard's going to be even less than usual in the VFL. And then you have Sire, who's played well, and guys like Quaynor and... Who would you drop? I mean, so the Goey's out. I think the two Browns are vulnerable.
Oh, I think they're on very shaky grounds.
Wells would be another one.
Should be, but maybe for him he gets another week and maybe they throw him up the back or something. Do something different.
I'd actually like... Mate,
how many goals did he kick in 2018, Hosky? It's been 40 odd or something.
Yeah, and he had a period there he kicked 25 games in a row or something. I mean, the thing with Hosky is they've moved him from the very, furthest line of the forward line up closer to the middle where he's on the wing. And it's like, maybe go play him in the pocket and see, because he's got goal now, so he doesn't have anything really that's translating to those other positions. I
think Cox goes. I think either Cameron comes back in or they're going to debut Kelly. I listened to Brenton Sanderson and his brother Brenton Sanderson on SEN on Friday afternoon, and he was talking up Will Kelly, saying he's very, very, very close to debuting and certainly thinks he'll do it in the next few weeks, definitely. But would you take a chance? I think you're almost... against Hawthorn, I mean, it's almost irrelevant. You might as well just throw a fuck all out there because the usual stuff doesn't work.
But the one thing with Cox, I'll say this, is...
Against Hawthorn, that is.
He just seems to get dragged too high up the field. So you don't... I mean, we were saying years ago, if you're going to play him there, you should just be playing out of the square. And you should just be sitting crummers around him and say, well, he doesn't mark, you crumb. But he seems to get dragged up between half forward and wing when he's playing as a forward. So I don't know why he's going so far afield, where surely he should be... If this was your strategy to go find this 211cm giant and say, we're not even going to play him as a ruck, we're actually going to play him as a full forward, then why don't you actually do that? You're playing him like as a high half forward. I don't actually get the logic there.
No. I mean, the marking is the frustrating bit. He's not clunking anything. But again, it's that thing that you can often see when he goes up into a marking contest, he invariably has 2 or 3 defenders hanging on him because they are fearful of that. And if that's the case, why aren't our crummers positioning themselves tactically around him to intercept the drop of the ball? There was one, I think, I don't know whether we ended up with a goal with it, I can't remember because I was only paying half attention at this stage, but it came to a contest and just in the back of the camera you saw Stevenson run into space behind him, and the ball I think did spill behind. I don't think he goaled from it, but he just read it beautifully coming in. I think that's one of the rare times that I've actually recalled seeing someone sitting at the base of a pack on the off chance it might spill through, in which case it did. There should be more of that. I mean, look, if he doesn't mark it, he's going to bring the ball to ground.
He should be, though, if he's not...
You don't want to make a career out of...
not marking it, but...
but still, you've got to make the most of that opportunity because you've got 2 or 3 occupied defenders who aren't going to be immediately there at the drop. That you might be able to sneak a few goals out of that.
But again, surely that works a lot better if you're within 25 metres of goal, rather than...
Well, that would be instead of being 78 kilometres up the road.
Yeah,
no, I agree with that, yeah.
And
playing out the square, yeah.
And that's, again, like, if players are not playing in the best position, like, I would be having... Full forward would be Cox, and the forward pockets would be like Elliott and Hoskin Elliott. And then you'd have the half forward line of like Stevenson, Myercheck, and whoever the other one is.
But this is also
the Goey, or depends if they're rotating through the middle.
It's also endemic of the way that they set up the structures for the forward entries. Is that you tend to have a couple of runners that move forward with the expected rebound to then probably obviously have a second crack if the first one doesn't work. And I don't know whether that just doesn't work effectively enough. That you've got to sometimes be like what we did in 18, just be hanging around and just be opportunistic.
Well, in 2018 we were averaging like 93 points a game, and in last year it was 85, and I know there's only been 5 games, but we're only averaging about 60 points a game. And I know that defensively the competition
across the board, the scoring is kaput.
But one of the I'm not watching any of the other games because it's really hard watching our games, and I don't really like to that. But with us, there were problems last year where it was spluttering and we couldn't score for big chunks of the game, and we did that in the 2 finals against GWS and Geelong. So we can't say the competition's defensive issues are also our issues, because we carry these issues in, and those things are just exacerbating it. So there's a problem there in the way our system works, and this fucking stubbornness, they just keep doing the same shit and hoping it's going to pay off.
The definition of insanity.
Yeah, and it's like that, you know, when Malthouse played Jason Cloke, a centre-half forward in 2003 grand final, and everyone went, oh, that fucking didn't work at all. And then Malthouse just kept playing in there, and he had the attitude, I'll show you this is going to work. And then one game, Cloke kicked like 2-4 or something. And
I told you I was right.
Yeah, and I was like, well, how many efforts did you take before? And that's no criticism of Cloke, because that's not what the position he could play. You know, he was better as a tall flanker, as an half back. So it's just frustrating to me that there's been issues since last year. The 2018, the forward line worked really well, and last year we were saying it on this show, it's like, well, it worked well in 2018, why do you have now Stevenson at half back, why do you have Mychek dropping so far back? So they totally changed the dynamic, and it's now, you look at the game, it's still very, very broken, and there's no system.
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's an interesting one too, because he's just a shadow of his former self. He bobs up for the odd cameo goal, but he's just nowhere near covering the same ground he is. He's not hitting the packs with the intensity he is. He's just become a bit player.
There's a couple of times I saw him, he looked like he was really struggling to run, so I'd be surprised if he's carrying an injury. I mean,
he's not carrying the side.
I know it's unusual at Collingwood to have an injury, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is the problem.
If that's the case, just don't play him.
Yeah, but who do you play?
Oh, you bring Kelly in or something. I mean, really. It's getting to that point where, like I said, we lose 2 or 3 more, you've then got to go into experimentation mode and play for Browns.
I think they're really close to that already, and I think the big problem is you're going to be playing Hawthorn this week, who've had the wood over you, you're down the Goey, Sidebottom, and How. So you've lost like probably 3 of your top 10 players, if not 3 of your top 6 players. So I don't know who's going to come in, who's going to have an immediate impact. You've already been playing, you brought Treloar back last week, and Varco.
Which were, you know, on paper, they were exceptionally good ins.
Oh yeah, I'm just sort of saying in terms of, we've brought in who we can bring in. There's no one with any great experience is sitting out there who's going to make an immediate impact.
Broomhead.
Well, yeah, they might. I mean, he's doing all that sort of stuff. But just, why fucking be... The system is broken so badly down that you're bringing players in and it's like they're not performing, then people go, oh, they're shit. It's like, well, you know what? They're shit also because the system is just not working. And you look at clubs which, you know, I'll say the Bulldogs under... Oh, shit, I forgot the previous coach's name. Brendan McCarthy?
Could be.
Yeah, or whatever it was. Where they really didn't look terrible. And then their new coach, what's his name?
Ted Whitten.
Yeah, Luke Beveridge, he came in, and same players, but they totally look like a different side. Even Carlton last year under Bolton, they looked terrible. Under Teague, they looked dangerous.
Less than terrible.
Yeah, but Teague had his philosophy, I'm going to play the players in the positions they're best in. You know, so it's just like, I think whoever you bring in is going to struggle unless you address the system, and the system does not fucking work anymore.
It's a system of a down.
Toxicity. That's the first time I've ever hit double in the flag now.
What does that mean? Does that mean we might get one up on Clark?
Did you turn the camera on?
No, the camera's not on.
What's your tip?
Hawthorn by about 60 goals.
Collingwood by 1 point.
See, I reckon, and not that I can see that far into the future, but I'd be very, very, very shocked if Hawthorn, with because Bergeron I think is the youngest player on that list now, with their age profile, if they don't come out right from the start and physically manhandle us into the ground, I'll be stunned. I think we will concede the first 6 goals and not fire a shot after that.
Well, last time Hawthorn conceded the first 6 goals against us, we ended up in the bar. And we won.
Or which bar should we go? Can we go to bars? Is there bars open anymore? Bar 20, is that still going?
We can go to bars. Doesn't really matter if they're open or not.
We just loiter out the front like and refuse entry as normal.
No, I was just saying we break in. Why would they be
yeah, you're advocating crime? I can't believe this.
I had to go for Collingwood. And we're going underwear. Anyway, that's it for now. Like us, subscribe, leave comments.
We'll try and be more positive next week.
Unless we get smashed this week.
Well, yeah. But I think, if you get smashed this week, it doesn't come as any sort of shock. It's just par for the course.
Oh, it's a birdie.
Right, and to all you players out there, stay out of trouble, keep your heads down. They can't get in trouble in the hubs, can they? Surely not. They're being managed and supervised. They should be safe there, shouldn't they? There'll be no scandals, will there? Please tell me it's not going to happen again.
There'll be something. There's always something.
There is. It's like a never-ending episode of The Twilight Zone.
Later.
Catch.